The first thing culture is a set of assumptions. Assumptions are beliefs that we don't even know we have. So you just read that paragraph about Nick, the firefighter, and his hard-ass instructor who they saw at the bar in a cocktail dress and high heels. Now, most of you were probably imagining some burly old firefighter dude squeezed into a cocktail dress and high heels. How many of you considered the fact that the instructor was a woman? That's what would make sense, right? The people that usually wear cocktail dresses and high heels are women. I never referenced the gender of the instructor in that story, but most of you probably assumed that the instructor was a man because you have assumptions about what jobs men are in. So firefighting, that's usually a job for men. You have assumptions about the qualities that are associated with men. So I described the instructor in masculine ways. I called her a hard ass. I called her old school. We usually think of men in those ways, and especially her behavior of being demeaning and breaking down the new firefighters. And so you assumed that the instructor was a man, even though that was never stated in the story. And then when you are given clear evidence that the instructor is a woman, you can't, your initial reaction isn't like, oh, it's a woman, that makes sense. It's that you try and imagine this old burly firefighting man in a cocktail dress because you cannot break out of this assumption you have that it's a male instructor. That's what assumptions are. They're beliefs that we don't know we have, and that's what makes them so difficult to change, so insidious. Well, they can be good as well, but when we don't know that we have that assumption, we can't challenge it. And to change culture, the first thing you have to do is bring those assumptions up to the surface. Assumptions about human nature shape management and leadership decisions. So there's an old management perspective called Theory X and Theory Y. And basically, it's the idea that some managers are Theory X managers. They assume that humans are inherently lazy and they're going to try to take advantage of you and do as little work as possible. And so your job as a manager is to get on their ass, force them to work, lots of oversight, micromanaging, supervision, lots of structure. Alternatively, some managers have a perspective called Theory Y, which is the idea that no, people like to be productive, they like to be creative, they like to contribute, and that you should give them the help and the responsibility that they need to do that. And of course, which belief you have about human nature really drives your management style. And I'm sure you can think of supervisors you've had that have had each of these different theories. So we have assumptions in the organizational world, in organizational culture, in the same way that we do in national culture. So culture is a set of assumptions. These assumptions are created by a group. Cultures naturally develop when people come together. So if whatever little group of friends you have, or just 3 or 4 of you even, you've got your inside jokes, you've got your slang, you've got your references to things that happen between you guys, you have your favorite movies, and even within that small group of friends, you have a culture. Same way with organizations, we develop cultures in organizations, project teams. Whenever people come together in a group for any amount of time, there is a development of norms, of expectations of how people will behave, of assumptions about how people should behave. Likewise, industries and organizations have their own culture. So one of the most obvious examples of this is contrasting the culture of Silicon Valley with the culture of Wall Street, where Silicon Valley is casual, people wear blue jeans and t-shirts, and it's flex time, and they come in, it's about getting your work done, it's not being there all the time, and you probably speak to your boss in a casual way, as opposed to Wall Street, which is much more hierarchical, much more traditional, much more formal. People are expected to wear expensive suits. On Wall Street, people drive Ferraris, and in Silicon Valley, they drive Teslas, and there's very different cultures within that industry, and then between specific organizations within those industries as well.